have an extra car, people like to borrow the, yeah. That's what I got. Mine didn't previously have to borrow.
Yeah, I'm having physical issues too. I think because everybody's powered up together.
y'all gotta leave him room for his stuff. And it should take up the whole podium all the time. I like this thing. This is cool. Smart. Yeah, y'all got me in trouble in Tulsa for putting all your microphones up. And he couldn't put his binder down. And I know you all don't want me to be in trouble. Abby Grace, is this my micro, or is this his microphone? Whose is this? That's yours? Okay. Is this one ours?
Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming and being part of this press conference. Thanks for sharing this with Oklahomans. You know, right now we're facing a serious situation here in Oklahoma due to the ongoing federal shutdown. SNAP benefits will not be replenished by the federal government on November 1st. Okay, so just reminding Oklahoma, this is a federal program. And due to the shutdown right now, the fighting that's happening in Washington, D.C., they're not going to be replenished. Unfortunately, SNAP benefits are not the only item that can be affected that Oklahomans rely on. Should Congress fail to pass this continuing resolution, just the numbers that are affecting Oklahoma in November are $205 million. And if it continues into December 1st, it will be a minimum of $350 million that we are shorted in the state of Oklahoma for some of these programs. Simply put, Congress needs to act. I want to clarify, this is a federal issue, and there is what we call a clean CR, meaning it's just a clean bill that continues the funding of the federal government. And right now, the Democrats are not passing it. So I'm so proud of our federal delegation. They have voted on it every single time to pass and open the federal government. And we need, I think, 6 more Democrats. We've had 3 Democrats have come over and have voted for this CR. There needs to be 6 more for it to pass. So what are we doing here in the state of Oklahoma to help? While we're continuing to push D.C. for action, we're also mobilizing and working to make sure that Oklahomans can weather this storm. We're talking to all of our state agencies, our federal delegation. We've been in constant contact with them. The legislature here in the state of Oklahoma. We've talked to our churches, nonprofits, ask everyone to assess the situation to figure out a path forward. So the current situation, it's complicated when you're dealing with these federal programs. But the state, I just want to remind everybody, the reason we're fiscally disciplined as a state is because you never know what's going to hit us. You never know what's going to happen. Just in our own personal budgets, you have to be fiscally disciplined. And Oklahoma is in a very, very strong financial situation. We have the largest savings account in our state history. Constitutionally, I've maxed out the rainy day fund. I can't put another dollar in. We've got as much money as we can possibly put in there. However, if we use state funds, whether that be from our rainy day fund or from other sources, the federal government has said they're not going to reimburse us, or it's not likely, or they can't guarantee it. So before resorting to rainy day, we're going to beef up other programs that we have. So we have the SDE, our Department of Education. We've got WIC. We've got other programs that are here to help, which some folks behind me, we've got people from the nonprofits, from different state agencies here to answer questions as well. We're working with our legislature to understand all the options that we have as a state, if this continues for any period of time, to take care of our fellow Oklahomans. That's the main thing that we want to do. But it's also, I want to remind Oklahomans that now is the time for us to step up as fellow Oklahomans. The Oklahoma Standard, neighbors walking with neighbors. We're best known all across the country. People talk about the Oklahoma Standard, and when times get hard, the Oklahomans step up. And so that's what I'm encouraging all of my fellow Oklahomans to do. We've set it up when I first came into office, was be a neighbor. And I know that passing laws in Oklahoma City or Washington, D.C. Don't really do anything unless you have neighbors walking with neighbors and you have people helping one another out. So all of that is important, but we need to have neighbors walking with neighbors. So I encourage you, every Oklahoma can go to beaneighbor.org, and if you need food assistance, that's where you go, to beaneighbor.org, and you can find a list of local churches, of some of the food banks, the nonprofits in your area that can help you bridge that gap if this continues for any length of time. Next, I encourage all of us that if you're not on food assistance, to encourage you to shop at your local grocery store. And the reason that's important, when you think about kind of the consequences that happen to something this major, some grocery stores in the area, they're heavily reliant on SNAP recipients and people spending money in their grocery store. So it can have some trickle effects out. So whether you're buying food to donate to places like the food bank that we're in today, or just going for your regular grocery haul every week, support your local grocery store. And the other thing, I've got some great guests behind us that can kind of boots on the ground in the different communities that we're going to open it up to questions, that they understand everyday needs and what we need to do to help our fellow citizens that may be needing some assistance during this time. So I know Oklahomans are going to step up. We're going to bridge the gap. And I'm going to continue to work with our federal delegation, our state delegation, our legislature to make sure that the impact on Oklahomans is as minimal as possible. And so we're asking the churches and the nonprofits to step up. But at the end of the day, big picture, the federal government they need to quit fighting. They need to solve this problem. They need to fund this clean CR and stop throwing politics into it and trying to throw other policy items into this. It's called the Clean CR, meaning it's Biden-era funding that they're just continuing, and it needs to be funded, and we need to put this to bed. I think all the governors across the country have spoken in unison to say, hey, let's fund the federal government and let's talk about policy at a different time. So with that, let me turn it over to Lyndall Fields, our Superintendent of Education, to kind of give you some thoughts, and then I think we'll hear from some other folks. So, Lyndall.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. I want to take just a few minutes to share with you a few things that are happening in SDE programs that schools may be able to take advantage of. First of all, let me just say, ensuring that every child in Oklahoma has access to healthy, nutritious meals is a top priority for schools around the state, and certainly the State Department of Education. In light of the ongoing financial challenges faced by many families, we want to remind schools and communities about the availability of certain programs and encourage proactive steps to help these students in need. First of all, our child nutrition specialists have been providing guidance and training over the last few days to help schools expedite certain applications for these programs. So as it pertains to free and reduced lunch, schools should encourage parents and guardians to complete the application for free and reduced price meals as soon as possible. Applications can be submitted at any time during the school year when a household's financial situation changes. So once approved, if approved, children will receive free or reduced lunches for the rest of the school year. So families that have been affected by income loss or reduced work hours from the government shutdown may qualify for these free and reduced lunches. Schools are also encouraged to participate in USDA at-risk after-school snack program. This program provides reimbursement for nutritious third meals served to children and youth in after-school programs, and these are for low-income areas. Eligible schools are in attendance where there's an attendance where 50% of the students qualify for free and reduced meals. We think there's a great opportunity for schools to take advantage here. So as always, we want to thank our school districts for all they do to ensure children receive nutritious meals during the day. And please reach out to us if we can be any assistance or provide support and guidance through these application processes. Thank you all.
Hello, I'm Stacy Dykstra, CEO of the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma. Welcome to our facility. I have the privilege today of sharing a few thoughts on behalf of both food banks, so our food bank here and our dear friends at the Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma. I wanted to start by just a little snapshot of what our partner pantries are already seeing in terms of change. So we are seeing a very large and quick uptick of people who have never come to a food pantry before. We're seeing 37% increase in people coming asking for help, for food help for the first time. And that brings us to SNAP. SNAP is an amazing, effective first line of defense to ensure every family has the food they need on their tables. Our food charity system, which is what we lead in this state, provides 1 meal for every 9 meals that SNAP provides. And I just want to make sure that we're really clear about that. What we are doing as food banks, we're being so deliberate and intentional to find every food resource we can find and to deploy it in the most effective and efficient way we can in partnership with our amazing partner network. We're talking to that network constantly to understand what they're seeing and what's evolving to make sure that we can respond as quickly as we can for as many neighbors as we can. There are ways that you can help us. We have a plan in place. We would like to double our distribution for each month that this goes on, and that would cost an additional $5.5 million a month. Our friends at the Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma have a very similar plan. We're working hand in hand, and that is their budget amount as well. And that is just to double what we're doing now. It doesn't really do anything to fully address this issue, and we just want to be very clear about that. But we are very committed to doing everything that we can do on that front. So what's most important right now is funding, because we can buy food very, very inexpensively and get it repurposed and back out into our community as soon as possible. But if you can't help financially, there are other things you can do. We're always in need of canned meat, hearty soups, canned vegetables, and canned fruits. And you can bring those to food banks or to any of the partner pantries directly. Also, you can use your time and volunteer with us. Both of our food banks always have opportunities for volunteering, but you might want to think about the partners out in the community. If you go to our website and put in your address, you will find pantries near you, and I guarantee you with the uptick in service they're providing, they could really use the help. I also want to take this opportunity to say we are so fortunate. People in Oklahoma do not want our neighbors to experience hunger. And we know that at the food banks because people year after year so generously give to make sure that happens. And we are so grateful for that. And I'd like to just end by saying, time is now, right? We have to come together. We have to support one another. And most importantly, we have to use our voice to let the federal government know to open the government back up to ensure every person in our state has the resources they need to thrive. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Cody Anderson. I'm a senior pastor of Faith Center Fellowship in Mino, Oklahoma. We're a multi-church campus there serving Northwest Oklahoma, and we have been a part of a conversation of readiness from churches from Enid all the way to Guyman, churches in Tulsa, churches in Oklahoma City, Dale City, Midwest City. We've just taken on a task with our team to connect as much as we possibly can, to have conversations of whether or not we can serve at these specific times in crisis. And so there's two things that we see happening in the state of Oklahoma. Number one, we all know just the spirit that Oklahoma carries. And we also want to thank the governor for his initiative in these conversations that were taking place a couple of weeks ago to begin to ask churches to begin to respond. And this is what we've been seeing. We've been seeing churches come together with emergency packages, boxes, where they can serve 7 meals for some of them. Some of them are 14 meals, but we're seeing this take place in multiple areas of the state. It's encouraging to me. And so what I want to share is just a couple of things that we can practically do as the church, as Christians, as fellow Oklahomans that simply care neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend, to help our communities be stronger. And that's simply take the time. Don't just shop for yourself, shop for others. As churches, go, be prepared. Encourage one another to come together, get the emergency boxes put together. And if we just take the system of 5, this is very, very simple, but it's very practical and it's impactful. If 5,000 churches in the state of Oklahoma, but between nonprofit and churches that do exist in the state of Oklahoma, there's shy of 6,000, but let's just take the principle of 5. If 5,000 churches respond this weekend, today, and they begin to put together 50 boxes of emergency food, and they do that twice a month for the ongoing purposes, not just because of the pending crisis that we're looking at, but because this is a serious issue that exists in our state, food insecurity. But if 5,000 churches will focus on 50 boxes of emergency response, and they do that twice a month, just do the math on that. That's almost 500,000 people that are served in our communities, in our areas, and it helps relieve the pressure off the incredible job that the food banks do. Secondly, if you are a church and you are a pastor and you know the resources that you have in your county, in your city, get those handed out to your people immediately. We have the greatest resource in the state of Oklahoma. And it's not the federal government, it's not what government can do, but it's what we can do for one another. We are the greatest resources that are available to serve in the midst of crisis. There's something that is said often by a lot of pastors. I hear it a lot. And it's the fact is, well, it is going to reopen. And we pray that it's going to reopen. We pray that things are going to change, that right minds would come together and wisdom would prevail. I think we all want to see that happen. But if it doesn't, this is not a moot point, because food insecurity in our nation is a serious thing. 1 in 5 children deal with food insecurity in their homes. Here in Oklahoma, we have some serious issues with food insecurity. We have a facility that we are building to help address food insecurity for the elderly and for veterans in our immediate area. So it's a serious issue that continues beyond November 1, beyond the upcoming weeks and upcoming months. But if 5,000 churches would begin to come together with their congregants and begin to establish emergency response packages, we can make a huge dent. Just that step alone makes a huge impact. Second thing that pastors will say is this. They'll say, well, listen, there's too many people that abuse the system. And that is true. There are people that abuse. There's bad actors and everything. But the truth is this, that when it comes to my values, and probably your values as well, not a one of us are perfect, and we've probably all abused some things called the mercy and the grace of God. I haven't been perfect in my life, but I'm thankful that due to God's mercy and His grace, He has responded to me in an incredible way and has given me a life that's been absolutely amazing through Christ Jesus. But the truth is this, is that if the church responds with mercy and not judgment, we can get a lot more done. It's amazing what happens in the tide of rhythm when we serve together. When we serve together, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, neighbor to neighbor, as the governor's calling for, we can see a huge impact being made in this pending crisis. We can be ready and not simply just coming behind. Jesus said this in the Gospels. If somebody compels you to go 1 mile with them, go 2 miles with them. I believe the heart of Oklahomans, naturally, we've seen it through what we've been through at times in our history, that we're the second mile people. But there's a time to be the second mile church, the second mile organization that will do what's necessary in these times, and we're seeing that. And I'm so thankful for what the food bank does and for all of these organizations that stand up here and that are here today and that help in incredible ways. We help each other. And there's a rhythm that's created, and we're better people for it. And it's in this hour that even no matter what the federal government is doing, that we can still serve one another and help meet these needs and the food insecurity that's in our nation. But let's not stop now. Let's let this continue. And when every church, 5,000 of them, let's just say that, do that 50 boxes 2 times a month, we can help make an impact. Thank you.
You know, I'm like most Americans, I've been really thinking that this thing would solve before November 1st. We're just getting prepared in case it doesn't. I think the pressure is mounting. I believe that Congress is going to vote and fix this. It's in the Senate right now. House has passed it. Again, we need 6 more votes to fund the government. So I would tell her just to be very optimistic. I think the longest shutdown in American history was 35 days, and we're coming up on 30 right now, and it was a little bit different at that point. We're at the beginning of the fiscal year, and this SNAP programs weren't kind of in the crosshairs in the previous shutdown. So I think it's going to get solved. But if it goes to Christmas, I want her to know to go to beaneighbor.org. Also, I think, don't know if I said this, but if you need help, go to beaneighbor.org. It'll give you places to go get food. If you are a church, or back to what the pastor said, and you want to provide something, you can go to beaneighbor.org and you can sign up to be a provider. So that's the connection point. The government's trying to facilitate, the state government is, and then we're looking at all other options if this continues on. So tell her to hang in there, and we'll make sure that she has what she needs. Yeah. So are there deliveries? Are there somewhere around? You want to take that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the question. Yeah, you know, I think we have a kind of a 3-prong approach here, both food banks. Obviously, we're going to utilize our partners across the 77 counties between the 2 food banks that we serve. And we have over 600 partner agencies combined total. So we'll start there by putting food in, but also looking at food deserts, looking at the MPNs where we know that there's a large community that receives SNAP, right? And looking at transportation, you know, we're going to be putting the message out, relying on our partners a lot to communicate with us as well. And we are committed to doing mobile distributions to the home of people that aren't able to. I mean, when you look at rural Oklahoma, a lot of the clients that use SNAP are probably going to the local grocery store, and they might be walking on foot. So we know that that's reality. We don't have a perfect plan, but we do have a plan in action, and we want to make sure that everybody has something during this time of need.
Governor, you
I don't specifically have an update on all the different agencies. They're working on it. Again, nothing's happened until November 1st here, but we're looking at all those options. But like I said before in the beginning, SNAP benefits alone is around $130 million. We'll have a shortfall in some of these programs. You've also got child care programs that will be affected. December 1st, we're looking at $350 million. And we have we're in a good situation, but these are federal programs, and it's very, very complicated, because even if we wanted to put the money in immediately to solve November's problems, we don't even have access to those credit cards and how the SNAP benefits are delivered. And so we're having to work behind the scenes and to engage the people behind me and all the folks across Oklahoma. And that's why I'm thankful that the media is here to share some of these messages with people, to get the message out. Because November 1st, potentially, if the government doesn't reopen, then there could be really families that are struggling with how to buy groceries for that week. And so that's what we want to get ahead of. We want to try to fix. But I want to remind people, this is a federal issue, and we need to put pressure to make sure that it gets solved. All of our federal delegation, it's been up for a vote for 13 times. And all of our representatives in the state of Oklahoma have voted to open the government every single time. So I just want everybody to know we are trying, but politics are being played at a level that is above just Oklahomans trying to take care of Oklahomans. Yeah, so the rainy day fund, it's close to $1 billion. It's 15% of our overall GR, general revenue, is kind of constitutionally how it's set up. It's totally maxed out, and then we have some other funds as well. But to access the rainy day fund, it's set up in a way that you're only supposed to access it in a revenue failure, right? Well, we don't have a revenue failure. This is a federal government problem, not a state problem. And so to access that, the max you can access is $300 million, and it takes 2/3 of a vote of a legislature, so we'd have to call people back for a special session. And then how do we actually get it delivered by November 1st on those cards, which we don't have the access to do it. So that's what I mean by it's kind of complicated to deliver that. And so we're looking at all that. If things continue through, Jeffrey Cartmill, who runs DHS, is looking at all that. We're talking to the vendor that monitors those cards to see if we need to do something in the month of December or later on. What does that look like? How quickly can we get that done? But again, we're encouraging all of our representatives across the country to do the right thing, and let's reopen the government.
So, did you reach out to any minority groups, churches, organizations in this effort?
Yes. The church groups are calling it, like he said. We've talked to them from Altus to Guyman to Tulsa to Gotebo to Idabel and all in between. And so again, all the churches, when you're serving your community, go to beaneighbor.org and sign up as a place that can provide some of these assistance to your neighbors and your local community. And I loved his math there. 5,000 churches and delivering a box of like that a week or every 2 weeks would be 500,000. And so that'd be an amazing stat to see how this works. But plus we have WIC that's not being disrupted, which is also monitored by Keith Reed with Department of Health. And so there's a lot of those programs. And then we heard from Lyndall Fields with the Department of Education, and their programs are not being disrupted at this point. And so we've got a lot of ants on this ant pile trying to figure this out in the short run. Yeah, so one of the couple of the tribal governments we've talked to, I believe it was, Jeffrey, you can take that, right?
Yeah, so Jeffrey Cartmill, Department of Human Services. Several of the tribal governments in Oklahoma operate a federal feeding program that tribal members are eligible for depending on where they live in the state. Historically, it's been a very difficult, unnecessarily difficult process to shift from being a SNAP recipient to one of these federal tribal feeding programs. We've had several conversations this week. There's actually a meeting right now happening with, I think, 12 of those tribes to figure out a way to expedite shifting people over. So far, that funding stream hasn't been impacted due to the shutdown. However, you can't be on SNAP and on that program. And so we're just trying to make sure that we can expedite that transition as quickly as possible to help alleviate some of the impact, particularly in the rural parts of the state.